All right, we're back. We just started this podcast and we had some technical difficulties. So all the brilliant stuff we just said is gone forever. I'm so sorry.
Insightful.
It was really insightful. It was great. It was so profound and beautiful, and now you'll never get to hear it. Yep. I'm Eric Kane, by the way.
I'm Paul Tassi.
And this is our Walking Dead podcast with no name.
Yes.
So
we'll get there.
I guess we've got some ideas, and maybe if anyone listening has some ideas, they can share them with us.
Yeah, that'd be helpful.
Crowdsource this shit. I can cuss on this podcast because it's our podcast.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that.
Yay!
I'm so used to not.
Yeah, I feel so free. Anyways, so yeah, we're going to talk about episode 2 of The Walking Dead, season 9, which I liked.
Yeah, it was good. I don't know if I liked it more than the premiere like you did, but I thought it was solid and better than most of the past 2 seasons by itself, just because it's writing's better, filming's better, everything continues to be better under Angela Kang, so that's good. Daryl
talks like a human being and fights like
he's
a
like
badass.
He's like a totally different character now. It's weird. It's like it's nice, but it's almost strange to see him just kind of instantly transform into like a way different character than he's been for years now.
It's really great.
It is, yeah.
I have to say, I really like the fact that Daryl is a human being. He's still the gruff, silent type. I mean, he's not like Mr. Chatty, but he is saying lines that make sense and that are, understandable. And he has a character somewhere in there, after all. I wouldn't say I liked this episode just purely more than the premiere. I think it was less flawed. I think there were some really big flaws in the premiere that kind of threw me off, whereas this one was just kind of solid throughout for the most part. Some readers have pointed out things that, like, why was there only one guy holding the rope with the log, so that when he dropped it, it crushed the people underneath him. Like, there should have been more people up there. Okay,
I mean,
it's a little nitpicky. One thing I do think people are making a good point. Like, how are they turning all this lumber into, actual serviceable building materials? How are they taking raw lumber and turning it into boards?
Yeah, that requires quite an long process. Yeah, they'd have to have pretty much an entire kind of logging camp set up, like, to do that.
Yeah, with a sawmill.
Yeah,
basically. And I guess with the time jump, I can kind of allow that also.
I mean, I'm okay if they don't get into like every minutia of like how they're doing all this like old timey civilization stuff. I don't know if the show's gonna have much added to it if we like oh well, we saw the blacksmith, but where's the sawmill? Like, I don't know. I'm willing to let some of that stuff slide at least. I'm just happy that they're just finally realizing like the consequences of the apocalypse, and it's like, hey, we can't keep driving around cars everywhere because there's no more gas, and keep shooting bullets randomly because we're gonna run out of ammo, and Eugene can make bullets like one at a time at best. So.
Yeah, no, it's a great transformation into a much more real. I mean, I guess it would be nice if there was a little bit more that, like, the details do matter. Mm-hmm. It would be cool to see, like, to have like a scene where they go to the sawmill that they've constructed.
I think they could still do that later.
Show us all those
things. Know, but
yeah. But it's so much better. It's really a shame because, as everyone has probably heard by now, the ratings fell below 5 million. Which is still really good for a cable TV show, but
it's
pretty bad.
Starting to be like The Walking Dead used to win Sundays kind of automatically, but now that it's below, now that it's this low, it's getting beaten by NCIS. It got beat by Madam Secretary this Sunday, and then some show on CBS I've never heard of that has to be awful called God Friended Me. Okay. That was higher rated, so it was like the 4th highest rated show when it used to, even with falling ratings, it used to pretty, automatically be number 1. But now, I don't know. I don't know how long AMC can remain this confident in it, because even if it is still kind of highly rated compared to a lot of stuff on cable, like, it's an expensive show to make, and I just don't know if this like grand plan of like, 15 more years of the Walking Dead cinematic TV universe is like really going to come to fruition. And I mean, AMC's had some other they have other quality shows, but they've never had another kind of ratings monster like The Walking Dead. But this feels like a bell that you can't unring, and I think we're kind of seeing that with this season, where
Yeah.
even if quality improves, and like even if the show's biggest critics like us are like, hey, no, it's good now, you should probably give it another shot, that's just, it's too late. It's just, there's not enough, draw like 9 seasons in with after everything fans have gone through in the past couple of years to get people all the way back. And then we have obviously, Rick leaving, which we haven't even talked about yet.
Wait, Rick's
Oh
leaving?
no. Shoot, is that a
Oh my
spoiler?
god, I didn't hear that. I didn't know that
You
he was
didn't watch the
leaving
official
AMC.
AMC
Hasn't.
commercials on every social media platform, and
Yeah. That's something I wrote about this morning about. I referenced your article on how the ratings every time there's a large, like a pretty major death, ratings have dropped. And I don't think that that's true if you go back far enough. Like when Shane died,
well, yeah.
spoiler alert, Shane dies.
Spoiler from 6 years ago.
Ratings didn't go down, but once you get into like Glenn getting killed, ratings tanked. Glenn and Abraham, I should say, although I think it's Glenn more than Abraham.
Abraham got so shafted because like he was such a good character that he deserved his own death, but now he's just like the other guy who got killed
Yeah.
besides Glenn.
That was so stupid. They should have kept Glenn alive and just changed it from the comic books.
Yeah, just
what a fun
kill
surprise
Abraham.
that would have
All
been.
they had to do was kill Abraham.
Yeah.
Or back then I was
Uh-huh.
saying they should kill Daryl, but now I'd feel bad about that because Daryl's good again. But
Yeah, that's true. I'm glad they didn't kill Daryl, especially now with Rick
in
leaving.
hindsight, yeah.
But it would be, I mean, one thing that I think this show, okay, you have to have characters die in a show like this. So on the one hand, like that's fine. You should have big character deaths. I mean, it's same with like Game of Thrones. There's going to be characters who die, but it's like, so with Game of Thrones, I think you have the most surprising death. Well, the first big death is Ned's. Spoiler alert: Ned Stark. Sorry,
Ned who? Ned who?
Nedrick Boyle. No, but but what I always think of with Ned's death is that rather than it just being a shocking death, it's a catapult for so much story, right? When Ned dies, central character of the first season, everything goes to hell, and it creates so much opportunity for new conflict and adventure and all that. And the reason that Martin can't kill off certain other characters is because it's those characters' story. It's not Ned's story. His story's over right at the beginning, but it is Jon Snow's story. It is Daenerys' story. You can't have those characters get killed off just for shock value, because then you no longer have a story about what the core of that whole story is. And the same thing is going on now in The Walking Dead. And I know I'm kind of getting away from the Glenn thing, but they kill off characters for shock value, and then they lose the characters whose story this is, like Carl, for instance, right? Like it's his story. How can you kill
Yeah,
off
exactly. I mean, Rick and Carl, essentially, if they're both gone, that is essentially like Game of Thrones, just killing off like Jon to Daenerys, and they're being like, well, there's still like 4 more seasons of the show at least to come, and like now this is starring Sam and like
right
Cersei, and like that's it, and like it's just the Andrew Lincoln thing is,
Sam
I mean,
and
they
Cersei.
clearly. But like he has been hinting that he wants to leave for a very long time, and so like knowing that, they should have kept Carl around. And like I am not gonna say Chandler Riggs is like the A+ #1 actor in the world, but like he deserves a chance to like shine at least more than he was given before. And I don't think he needed to like have as much screen time as Rick has had if they kept him on as the lead, but he would have been a valuable addition to the show, particularly when they're going into all these different plot lines where Carl has way, way more to do, and he is like a central component of so many storylines. And then, so we're going to lose both of the Grimes, and then the show gets led by kind of no one. I mean, they're kind of setting up Daryl, and like, I was very skeptical about that, and I might be a little less skeptical about that given his improved writing, but like even still, like there really is no Walking Dead without, when the only Grimes is Judith. And
Right.
It's
not even really.
As low as ratings are, I have to believe they're going to go even lower because it's, you just don't really kill off a lead like this and survive. And it's like when a totally opposite comparison, but like when I think Sheldon said he was leaving The Big Bang Theory, like the show's just over. Like everyone just agreed, like, oh yeah, like I mean, he's a pretty core component and he wants to leave, and like it's, you know, we've been doing this for 14 years or whatever. Like it's probably time to move on. And like Rick is arguably even more important to The Walking Dead than Sheldon was to, you know, that show. But like the show is just going to truck on and on and on kind of endlessly. And AMC has kind of made it clear there is no end game in sight, which in itself is its own kind of exhausting.
Yeah, it really is. I think like with a zombie show, you're going to have a lot of deaths, and that's part of the territory. But if you don't restock the cast with really likable, relatable characters, you're just in a lot of trouble. And then when you lose your leads, I don't know where you go. It really, I think maybe it's time to start a new show, like a new Walking Dead show,
I mean,
and end this one because
yeah, I mean, they will start a new one. I cannot imagine Fear has more than 1 year left.
Yeah,
and then I think they're going to start another spinoff, probably in a foreign country, for that international market share. I don't think they're going to end The Walking Dead proper, though. I think they're just going to keep rotating in and out people, and like, you know, Maggie's going to leave. I'm betting Michonne's going to leave. So we'll have like Carol and Daryl leading, and like maybe Negan will be around for another year and then he'll leave maybe. And I mean, there are new characters coming up. Like there's about to be kind of a new plotline developing, and that does introduce a pretty hefty slate of new characters. And we'll see if those are anyone, you know, people get interested in. But I don't know. It's dire straits, and it's a bummer because like if the quality was still just abysmal, and granted we've only seen, you know, 3 episodes in this season, I'd feel like a little more vindicated. But it's kind of a bummer that they give this to Angela Kang like when they've already shot all these holes in the bottom of the ship, and they're like, "Here, you take over." And like no matter how many buckets she, you know, buckets out, like it's never gonna help.
Yeah, it's kind of a bummer. You know, I keep thinking back to earlier seasons and how much I enjoyed the show. I mean, it still had little annoying ticks. Like if you go back and watch earlier seasons, there's still things that you can kind of see where the writing's a little off and how it gets worse. But it was such a good show for a while. I know a lot of people say, "Oh, it was always bad," but you know, like for a zombie show, for like this genre especially, I think it was really really engaging drama.
Yeah, it had its ups and downs, but like, yeah, and that's the thing is like it was an engaging drama, and I think that's what the show has gotten back this season, where it feels more like a drama and less like this dumb kind of World War Z wannabe action blockbuster, which is what the Negan War was essentially, with all these just nonsensical gunfights and like, you know, cartoon villains. And it just this is just like, I'm enjoying these episodes just because it's people having conversations that I like, normal conversations that I have not seen them have in literally like 5 years or 4 years or whatever it's been since the show was last, you know, well written. And it's kind of miraculous that makes such a difference, but it really does.
Well, it's kind of sad that that's the bar that we've set, you know.
But that's what that's what the last 2 years did. I mean, outside of like just 1 or 2 good episodes, it has been pretty bad. And it's bizarre because this was like the best comic arc and somehow became the worst stretch of the show. And I don't know. I enjoyed this season. I am really looking forward to the rest of the season, and I say that unironically. Like based on what I've seen, they're creating a lot of interesting mysteries. Like everything is better, and this is a show I'm enjoying watching. Like I'm gonna be sad to lose Rick, but I'm gonna stick around and watch. But I also can't blame people that are like, all right, I'm done. Like especially after last season when, you know, half the people just didn't show up for the premiere this time, and I can't really blame them.
Yeah. And I suppose some of them are going to come back and watch it, you know, on Netflix or whatever. And maybe if it's good enough, we'll see those ratings pick back up. But I'm not holding my breath for that.
Yeah. And I mean, I guess the caveat is always like, oh, well, more people aren't watching live. More people are waiting for streaming. More people are watching an AMC premiere. And like, that is true. And that is a certain portion of this. And yet it doesn't explain the entire disparity of like a 50%, you know, year over year ratings drop. It doesn't.
No. And certainly like for the traffic on my reviews, for instance, like it is tanked. Like I looked at my season 8 premiere review did like 440,000, which was a lot less than season 7, which did like 750,000 hits. and then my premiere review for this season did 100,000, and episode 2 has done 43,000 now after a couple days. So it's really just, I mean, we're talking about reviews that used to do 3, 4, 500,000 every week.
Yeah,
down to 40.
It's
and
crazy.
That shows engagement, like, yeah, okay, if a bunch of people are watching it on, AMC Premiere or whatever, that's, if they're really still engaged, they're going to be engaging with the reviews and with the posts, but traffic is just bottomed out.
Got to get
so.
those long tail views. So when people watch it on Netflix in like a year and a half, they'll be like, "Huh, I wonder what this review was of this one specific episode."
You know what I should do is when it comes out on Netflix, I should just republish all my reviews.
Yeah, it's not a bad idea.
You know what I would love to see? I would love to see AMC give the creators of Better Call Saul a spin-off Walking Dead show and have them set it like in the Southwest, like around Albuquerque, Colorado, and like let's see what the Better Call Saul people can do with the zombie
I would
show.
also love that. I just have to believe Vince Gilligan would be like, I'm good.
No, but wouldn't it be awesome?
It would be
I know,
awesome.
it would never happen. It's like a fantasy, But I mean, I'm not caught up with Better Call Saul yet. I'm like 2 episodes behind, I think.
Yeah.
And it's been phenomenal. Again, it's just such a good show.
Yeah, it's really good. I mean, the finale's not anything like blockbuster, but it's very good.
Well, it's not really a blockbuster show.
No, I know. I just mean in
it's
terms of more, like event wise.
Yeah.
But.
Yeah. Well, I'm almost there, so I don't know. I don't expect it to match last season's finale, which was just horrific.
Yeah. No, I don't think it will. But.
But I love. I just love how clever it's just like Breaking Bad in terms of, these great shots constantly, like such creative camera work and such, I don't know, believable, well-rounded characters. I would just love to see something like that in this Walking Dead universe.
Yeah.
I feel like we've gotten that a little, like in Fear season 3, we got some really good, well-rounded characters, really interesting stories. But
I mean, I still have faith like the quality can continue to improve, and like maybe once ratings keep going down, they get even more freedom to kind of do what they want and experiment and be more artistic than they have been. And so maybe that's possible. Like I don't have faith the ratings are going to go back up, even if the show is becomes a 10 out of 10 production. Like it's just not going to happen. But
yeah,
I have a lot of faith in the season hopefully panning out and being good, even though if we are ending in the Whisperer thing, I'm not a huge Whisperer person, but I don't know, maybe Angela Kang will do a good job with it. So you still hear me?
And I've lost you again. Wait,
you there?
I hear you. Yeah, I don't know what happened. You were gone again for a second.
Yeah, you cut out. You like blanked out on the tape there.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we'll just edit that later.
Okay.
I don't know what's going on. I'm gonna have to mess with this. Maybe it's my headset.
All right,
or
we can just swing back to the actual episode. But
okay, yeah. So the episode, Aaron gets his arm crushed. I thought that was a pretty good gruesome moment.
Yeah, and it wasn't like zombie related for once. It was like, oh, his arm got bit, we have to cut it off. It's like, no, he just compound fractured his arm and he has to amputate it or else he'll die. It's like a different kind of medical emergency. And I also find it, I mean, you haven't read the comics, but like he's kind of turning into comic Rick, like literally now. Like people saw these shots of him before season 9 aired, and he's got this big bushy beard and like short hair. And like those shots alone, he looks pretty much exactly like comic Rick, more than Rick does right now. And then in the comics, obviously, like way back when the governor cut Rick's hand off, and like Rick has a hook hand for 90% of the comic. And they didn't want to do that to Andrew Lincoln, but it seems they feel comfortable doing that to poor
Ross Marquand.
Yeah, Ross Marquand. And so, but like he is literally becoming comic Rick now, which is kind of funny because Rick is leaving, obviously. So we'll have like at least a visual stand-in for him if Andrew Lincoln himself is gone.
And then Henry can be new Carl.
Oh God, kill me!
And they can call him New Carl instead of Henry.
I heard they're recasting. If they're doing another time jump, I heard they're going to recast him with his older brother, like the actor's older brother. Which is kind of funny, but
I hope he's a better actor. Speaking of which, that reminds me. Do you think they could have gotten away? Because one theory is that Gimple and the other people just didn't think Chandler Riggs was up to being a lead actor. His just acting chops weren't quite up to snuff. Do you think they could have gotten away with a time jump and a recast of that character? To just like an
Yes.
older, like a 25-year-old, 26-year-old, like grown-up Carl,
I
you
do.
know?
I do, especially if they're doing like a 5, 6 year time jump, which they might be. I think that kind of would have been almost even more of a slap in the face to Chandler Riggs, kind of,
Sure,
but
but in the
at
bigger
least
picture of the
thematically,
show,
it would have been. I mean, I think it may have been preferable story wise to
mhm,
do that. I wonder if that was considered. But all I needed was a freaking haircut, man. Like,
yeah, that would have helped a
that's,
lot.
I'm so sad he never got to get a haircut.
You know.
I hope Daryl gets his haircut in the time jump, but I don't think he's going to.
Well, his hair is, I don't know, I guess it fits him better, I feel
I
like.
know he's just
But
had that for so long. And like, I was watching
yeah.
season 2 and like old, like short hair Daryl, and I'm like, oh yeah, he looks way better.
Yeah, he should shave his head or something,
Yeah.
Go like
Just be like, whoa,
get
who's
like a
this guy?
mohawk.
But like, even if Carl wasn't like, again, like getting Rick level screen time, I still think just him as a presence, the show would have greatly benefited overall.
Yeah.
And like you were saying, like in these other shows, like where the deaths mean something and transform the show in some way, like they tried to say that his death did that, but it just so clearly was pointless and was not
Yeah.
necessary at all, that no one was buying that. And they're like, no, it's a pivotal moment and like helping Rick come to grips with, the new society and blah 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 blah. And it's like,
That bullshit.
not at all.
No, that was such bullshit.
Yeah.
First of all, who got Carl to come around to that point? I mean, why did he suddenly
He
have a change of heart?
absorbed Morgan's philosophy by osmosis. I don't know.
No, he started seeing that guy that was saying, "You know what it is," and he was like, "Yes, I do know what it is. We all need to get along. Why can't we all just get along?" Yeah,
It is
it's
interesting,
they.
though, I will say, to see, because like Rick has fully adopted that philosophy now, and it's like, oh, we just, we're going to be peaceful and share everything. And it's interesting to see him going up against Maggie and Daryl, and I guess Maggie especially. Whereas we saw a little bit of that in this episode, where Michonne's trying to convince Maggie to give the Saviors, I think, more food, even though the
Yeah,
Saviors can't pay them like the gas or whatever they owe them because the Saviors disappeared and nobody knows why.
yeah,
And Maggie's like, no, I'm not going to do that. Like, we have surpluses for a reason for my community. And like, it's kind of this interesting like governance philosophy of like Rick's share everything socialism, communism. I'm not good at governing philosophies, but, and then Maggie's kind of like autocratic, like isolationist, the hilltop is the
yeah.
hilltop. And if hey, if you work as slave labor for us, maybe we'll give you some food for the bridge.
Yeah, it's a good conflict,
Yeah.
and I agree. It's interesting to see these different philosophies play out. I think there's some, I would say there's like a few things going on that could really help. I think that Michonne's right that having some basic laws in place would help. I think that they should have probably had some trials after the war for some of the war criminals from the Savior's side, because that's what you do after a war. You
Yeah.
you punish the people who did horrible, atrocious things. I think that Rick is it's fine to think like that they all get along, but why are the Saviors still living in the sanctuary when they can't grow any
Yeah, that
food
is
or do
one
anything
plot hole I'm
productive?
like not all about, because like there has to be a
Yeah,
better place for them to live than like the factory. Trying to
yeah,
grow
it's
corn and concrete like morons. Like, there
yeah,
has to be
exactly.
a better way forward there.
Has
But
no one thought to
I
themselves
mean,
like, let's go like occupy this little town over here or something?
yeah, I mean, I am usually on kind of Team Maggie when it's been to this whole conflict, and I do think Rick's being pretty naive. However, Michonne's right when she's like, well, "What are you gonna do with the blacksmith guy who tried to kill you?" And Maggie's like, "I don't know." And she's like, "Well, you hung Gregory. Like, you gonna hang him?" She's like, it's just like it's so
Yeah,
arbitrary. It's like she just hated Gregory more, so he gets hung, and the other guy was like drunk, and she didn't hate him before, so he's fine, and maybe she'll let him out. And like, I mean, Michonne is right. They do need like actual rules in place, or else everything's just kind of dissolve. Like it's essentially anarchy slash dictatorship. Like it's like a mix of those two
hmm
things. Or like the
yeah.
honor system, and like at best.
And I guess that's planting the seeds for all the conflict to come, and that's good. And I thought the scene at the end with Rick and Negan was good.
Yeah, that was straight out of the
You know,
comics. That was well done.
was that straight out of the comics? Because it was some of Negan's. I mean, it was his best. I think maybe his best scene. It was his
Mm-hmm.
best lines. and it was cool to see them clash as well. I'm on Maggie and Daryl's side of this conflict also, but Maggie herself is kind of annoying me. I'm not gonna lie, her character is kind of bothering me right now.
I, hmm, I don't know. I kind of like her. I think she's just like done with everyone's shit and is like, this is what I'm doing. Like, you know,
yeah.
screw the saviors. Like, why do we owe the saviors anything? Like, they murdered so many of our people, and now I'm like handing them food. Like, this is
No, I
bullshit.
agree with all that. It's just kind of something maybe it's just I'm still just not really sure why Maggie became the leader of Hilltop, or like
I don't know. She
why
saved
they
them
all
a couple
split up
times
to go to
and
Hilltop. Like,
made some good
what was the point?
speeches.
Yeah, but
Well, you
why did
probably
the
won't have to
group
deal with
split
Maggie for
up?
that much longer because again, in this episode, they set up pretty clearly, I think, how she's going to leave, unless that
Oh
was like
yeah.
dramatic misdirection.
So how is she gonna leave? Do you
I
think?
mean, they literally had this scene with Jesus and Maggie where Maggie's reading a letter from Georgie, who is the woman from last season who gave them all the instructions of how to
Mm-hmm.
build windmills and aqueducts and whatever to restart society. And Jesus says that, Georgie's been trying to get Maggie to join her out on the road. And Maggie's like, no, 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 I got stuff to do here.
I have a
But
baby.
yeah, and then, a baby. But with all this kind of offset talk of Maggie is leaving, but we're going to keep it open ended. We have an idea of like how to bring her back in season 10. Like, this is the
Mm-hmm.
perfect setup for that. Like, she can leave and go on the road essentially anytime with Georgie and be like, all right, Jesus, you're in charge of the hilltop now, whatever. Take the baby, I guess, and just travel around. And if whatever they want to bring her back, season 10 or whatever, she'd be like, hey, I'm just making the rounds, stopping back in.
Yeah.
And I think a
I
lot of this
like.
depends on Lauren Cohen's show, which is her new ABC show. And like, if that's a big hit, maybe she doesn't come back. If it gets canceled, maybe she does. So there are other options where she could leave in an open ended way, and we'll get into that more next week because it has to do with something that happens then. But this seems like the
Yeah.
most likely option, and it would be very weird of them to have this scene and have that kind of not come to pass.
I think I would like Maggie more if she wasn't the leader of Hilltop. I just feel like that kind of sucks the life out of her character in a way. Like, I want her to just be one of the group again. I think I'm really on Daryl's side when it comes to like, I want the group. Let's get the band back
small
together.
group wandering
Let's
in the
have the
woods
small
back.
group.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. I mean, they don't have to be just just wandering, but like this just. I still don't like how many characters are on this show. I don't like how big all these communities are, and just impossible to keep track
I
of
mean, this is what
everybody.
I'm wondering about the overall direction of the show. Like, assuming we are going to get 5 more seasons of the show or whatever the hell AMC's planning, where like at least from the source material, that problem only gets amplified. And like,
Yeah.
not only do they kind of stay put in these cities, like there's even more places they discover, and like the cast gets even bigger. And it is definitely not about small groups wandering places like 99% of the time for the foreseeable future. And the show has kind of moved into this quasi civilization phase, and it's just not really about survival anymore in the same
Yeah.
sense. It's just about kind of reestablishing the new world order, which new world order is literally one of the comic arcs. But and so I'm not like a huge fan of that. I think the stuff the comics doing a little lately with this new kind of community is more interesting. I won't really get into that, but it could be okay. But again, that's several years away, and unless they make some real deviations from the source material, that just seems like kind of where we're going.
Yeah. I mean, that's depressing. I don't know. I mean, maybe they'll surprise us though, and really go off on their
I
own
mean,
path.
I would say I've heard worse ideas than a Daryl spinoff where he just
Yeah.
gets on his bike and like gets the hell out of there and has Daryl adventures like mostly by himself or with a smaller group. Like, I would
I like
watch
that.
that. That would probably be way
I'd
better
watch
than the
that.
current show.
Yeah, it
But
would
he's
kind of
essentially
be.
the lead of the current show now, so I don't really see that. Essentially, ride with Norman Reedus, except ride with Daryl.
Yeah.
Daryl Dixon.
Right with Daryl Dixon, I like it.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I just think it's bogged down, and I think that's definitely also impacting ratings. Just the spirit of the show really changed when they got to Alexandria, and it hasn't. I mean, this is a better season for sure, but it's still and honestly, their balancing is much better.
Mm-hmm.
We're getting a lot more of Rick and Carol and Daryl and the characters who we care about, rather than whole episodes devoted to Tara or Eugene
At
or
least so far. I
Henry.
mean,
So far,
I'm
yes, so
not
far.
fully confident they're going to quit that entirely, but so far it has been a lot better. And I have not missed a focus on Eugene or Tara or people like that yet. I think they're going to, I do also think they have the potential, if they do refocus on them, to make it better. Because like I would have never imagined that I could ever care remotely about anything Father Gabriel does, but like his arc this season with Jadis, and it is actually kind of interesting. And like they did with his eye and his hat, and like he's kind of a cool character now.
Yeah, I mean, he has potential for the first time.
Yeah. So I mean, I think they can do that with other characters, but I guess we'll see.
Yeah. Well, any other shows you're watching right now that you?
I just wrote about The Haunting of Hill House on Netflix.
Yeah.
Which
I need to
is
start that.
so good. I mean, Netflix has had some really bad horror stuff that I've seen. Like their original horror movies are generally not great. The exception is this one movie called Gerald's Game, and they took the guy who directed that and gave him this show, which is an adaptation of the Shirley Jackson book. And I was really, really surprised by how good it was and how much I liked it. So I would definitely recommend you and everyone else check that out.
Okay.
It's only 10 episodes.
That's been on my list, and it's it's good timing with Halloween just around the corner.
Yeah, I got Daredevil coming up in like 3 days, so I gotta watch that.
Yeah, I have not kept up with any of the Marvel shows except for Jessica.
I'm looking forward to this one because they're introducing Bullseye and Kingpin's back, and hopefully it'll be good. Less ninjas, hopefully.
I've been watching we just binged all 5 seasons of Brooklyn Nine-Nine, which was lovely.
Good show. I think I missed the last half of the last season, but yeah, I watched everything else. I love that show.
And then we started The Good Place and finished season 1 last night, and also holy crap. Man, that show went from like good to great real fast. I was blown away.
Yeah, it's brilliant.
It's brilliant, yeah. So a lot of sort of more comedic stuff. Better Call Saul. We started Castle Rock, but haven't finished that yet.
I just finished it. I mean, I think Haunting a Hill House is like 5 times as good as Castle Rock. Castle Rock had some like okay moments in it. I didn't like the resolution in the end, and it didn't seem worth the journey, I'll say.
Yeah, I think we just kind of tired out around 6 or 7 episodes.
Bill Skarsgård rules in that show, but everything else is like, yeah.
Yeah, he's creepy.
I know, he's like the creepiest dude ever. I'm like, how tall is this dude? Like 8 feet tall?
I know, right?
He's so big.
So skinny.
Yeah.
And like, since he was it really adds to his creepiness in this also. Yeah. Okay. So many shows. It's hard to keep up with all of them.
Yeah, there's a lot of shows. Oh, and then all the video games we're supposed to be playing, which is our actual job.
Yeah, tons of video games. We'll need to do a video game podcast at some point just to kind of round up what we
talk about now.
How do you keep up with all this? I can't keep up with Destiny 2. I'm just going to say that right off the bat.
I literally have it open right now. There's the Halloween thing that just started.
Yeah, I need to hop in.
I mean, I'm pretty behind in Destiny. Like a lot of people are hitting max light now, and I'm still like 40 under, and like I haven't done the raid, and so like I'm definitely not as caught up as I could be on Destiny. But I also run 3 characters, which slows me way down.
Yeah.
But I don't know. That's kind of my go-to when I'm not doing anything else. And obviously, I put in a ton of time after Forsaken. But then I did Spider-Man, Assassin's Creed, now I'll do Red Dead, and that'll fall by the wayside for a little while. Oh, and Black Ops.
Fortnite and Black Ops and Assassin's Creed. I'm not very far.
Fortnite has been reduced to the bare minimum at this point.
Yeah. I keep thinking, I want to get good at that, and like, I can't. It's just too. It's hard. You have to play it all the time, really, to compete, and it's really hard to do that when you're playing other games. I like Disco Domination because it's great fun to go get a lot of eliminations.
Yeah, you can respawn.
Yeah, you can respawn and like rack them up. It's like, whoa, I'm actually good at this game, but not really. All right, well, we'll be back next week with another podcast. There will be a little bit of a hiatus in November on these podcasts because I'm going to be traveling for a couple weeks. But
that'll be near the end of The Walking Dead anyway. But
it'll be for just a couple weeks though, and we'll pick back up for the mid-season finale and the next.
Hopefully, we'll be able to at least cover Rick's departure, which may be coming up here.
Yeah, definitely. We'll see if I can watch my screeners from. It's always kind of a pain to try to make things work when you're overseas.
Yeah,
but we'll figure it out. All right. Well, thanks for listening. Catch you later.
So, yeah.